Good afternoon. At this time, I'd like to call our City Council work session to order. Our first topic will be an update on the Economic Development Authority's development at the Point at Harborview. Mr. Manager.
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Prior to starting with this presentation, I think you all have had the pleasure to meet our new Economic Development Director, Janet Days, who's with us today in the row out there. We'd like to welcome her aboard. It's been a great pleasure to bring her aboard, to be honest. I know Kevin, look at me smiling. But with that said, Kevin will lead us through this presentation on the Point at Harborview.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, wanted to bring you up to speed. It's probably been some time, many years, in fact, probably, as we've given you an update on this project. I'll touch a little bit on, I'll give you a brief history. So just going back how we started here. So in red is the Point at Harborview that the EDA owned. It was acquired about 20-ish years ago, maybe 23, 24 years ago, in conjunction when Tidewater Community College decided they were going to move what was the Portsmouth campus actually to Portsmouth. It left open some strategy or some movement relating to what they owned. What they own is that waterfront property, but also what is highlighted in red, which is the Point at Harborview. And the city at the time went under contract with TCC and the state to start a development project on that site. At the time, U.S. Joint Forces Command was very busy, very active. Some folks call the Sim City. It was really taken off. Obviously, that world has changed significantly. We've had deed restrictions that we've had to amend through the years. It was early contemplated that this would be a modeling and simulation campus in support of that activity. And so we've worked through different iterations of covenants and restrictions and deed restrictions and things of that nature with different governors and what have you. It's been quite a journey, to say the least. With that being said, as we were pivoting into how to develop this project, move forward without modeling and simulation being the driver, went through a couple different economic down periods and up periods and worked through a rezoning package, found a developer. We're working with a group called the G's Companies. We're about on our 8th year with those guys. They're not, a lot of times developers have a lot of interest in moving very quickly and very aggressively. They work with us on our pace, making sure we make good decisions and think through things. And so we've enjoyed working with them and continue to work with them on that. So we've rezoned the land with them. I think we've had zoning in place with the zoning categories mixed-use development for approximately about 8 of those years as well. And just here recently, we've begun to turn dirt and see some things come out of the ground on it. So in front of you right now, this is an aerial. This is probably about 1.5 years old that talks to some of the residential activity that kickstarted the project and the program. What I'll do moving forward is walk through the master plan. It's a little graphically a little more pleasing and easier to tell the story, but I'll take you through where we are on the development and then why we're talking about this today, because there is a request on your regular session related to the next infrastructure road to be built in the next phase. So this is the master plan. We've tweaked it a couple of times as we've gone through different ups and downs and different transitions related to commercial development. But what you see in red is either complete or active in different scenarios or phases. And that includes about 2/3 of the residential component and the beginnings of the retail and commercial portion closest to College Drive and Armstead Road by the large roundabout. What you'll see next is highlighted in purple, and I'll give you some photos of that here in a second. That'll be our last residential component, and that's a condo development that we hope to break ground probably in the first half of this year. We've got site plan approval, just kind of buttoning up some of the details related to that. So I'll walk you through each concept or each portion as it relates to what the setup is. And so on the residential side, the rezoning allowed for a total of 500 units. What we've done on the residential side is break that up into a couple different offerings. And so first was the Attain at Harborview. That's 300 rental units. That's been in place for almost 3 years now and been very well received. It's got a 4-story vertical component to it. Again, the concept under the MUD is to introduce walkability and encourage folks to work and play and live all within its own component. And so with that, we wanted to create some density. And so as such, we offered a for sale product. That's the Harbour View Towns. That's just about complete. Those have also been very well received. I think they're on their last 10 or 15 under construction. So that'll be closing out here shortly as well. And then I mentioned the condos. The frontage on the condos will actually be a mixed-use building, so what you've seen out at Bridgeport or the Gallery at Godwin. So what'll front on the interior road will offer commercial opportunities along the front, and then there'll be for sale condos, mainly two-bedroom opportunities, and there'll be 99 of those, and that'll close out the residential component related to the rezoning. On the hotel front, we've got one deal secured. That's a Home 2 Suites. That's actually on the left side of the visual that you're looking at there. That has received site plan approval, and they've recently submitted for a land disturbance permit, so we look forward to them breaking ground here shortly. And then on the opposite side of the road, parcel C2, that's a hotel that we're currently working through the due diligence factor, and so hopefully we'll be announcing that in the not too distant future. But what we've tried to do is create some scale with the project to help build the development upwards and be vertical towards the interstate. And so from a visibility perspective, as you're coming down College Drive or Harbour View, you'll have good visibility with the first floor retail, and you'll be looking up towards the hotel and the apartment and the residential component who need less visibility for that. So we have introduced a vertical component to it. And those two hotels will kind of serve as a bookend and an opening when you come down what is Point Place into the development. On the retail side, we've broke ground on three different structures now for about maybe 8 months now. So I'll walk you through what you see on your screen. Closest to College Drive, you can see it on the concept as B4. Those are the top photos, the gray retail buildings. And they've got a salon that's finalized. There's a Hawaiian barbecue restaurant, currently talking to brewery, coffee shops, good, I think, uses that folks will find of interest. That's closest to College Drive, and so that'll be closing out, finishing up over the next 2 or 3 months. And then as you head back towards the apartments on Ironside Drive, that was a parcel that's got 2 structures under construction. That was sold to the owner of Gianna's that operates in the shopping center by the former Harris Teeter. So we were able to work with him so he can own his own facility outright, and he's really stepping up his game. Not that it's a nice facility today, but you're really going to be wowed by his design and impact. And he'll be expanding his offerings to also include seafood and a chop house there. And then he realized the adjacent parcel, and so he's putting up a speculative retail building at the same time. And so you've got 3 buildings under construction right now, and they should all be opening come this spring, early summertime. And it's been an interesting challenge throughout the process. And just when you think you've kind of figured it all out, HRSD calls and said, we'd like to send a force main right down the middle of your property. And then we need these injection wells to go in your site as well. And so we've been working with HRSD to coordinate their needs, our needs, and collaborate on that. Council has taken action to approve the well stations, the SWIFT stations. There are 3 on the site. They're outlined in red, and then that line that runs through the middle of the site is a force main that'll essentially, known as the Boat Harbor Force Main, that'll be bringing material from the peninsula into the treatment plant and then back out to the SWIFT station. And so that was an interesting exercise to make sure that we could accommodate that for the good of the greater good, but then also continue on our development and not paint ourselves into a corner. And we were able to work with them very well. We have closed on the easements and the property on that. And so if you've been out there recently, the photo, you can maybe make it out. There has been some tree clearing, and so they've started work on their force mains currently. So ultimately, why I'm here today is to request money, and that's on your agenda, but to talk about the future. And so I'm going to put, this is Janet's project now, we don't have dirty work. She gets to hit the home run. So what the EDA will be left with is about a 10-acre site that's listed as residual. So we're not under contract with that site. We've been working with G's on some of the other concepts moving forward, and so there's some active sales agreements, but nothing on this. And so now that we've built the main infrastructure in place, the small roundabout, and you kind of begin to open up sections, what we'd like to do is continue what's known as Ironside Drive into that residential section. It'll also assist with the condo project. And so previously in the CIP, we had requested $700,000. This funding's coming from the Route 17 taxing district, and so that's built for infrastructure projects like this. The bids came in a little over $1.1 million, and so what we'd like to do, and it's on your consent agenda, is request an additional funding from that Route 17 taxing district of $500,000. What that'll do is extend Ironside Drive into this residential parcel so we can really begin to push forward on a aggressive approach to do something very interesting on this parcel. We think it's an opportunity, whether it's a potential office use, or to win an economic development project, or maybe something from an entertainment concept. But the EDA will have the ability to make decisions and using that land potentially as an incentive to bring something very interesting that we think will be a benefit to the city. But having the road in place really answers a lot of questions and helps in the marketing component. So with that, happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Kevin. Council, questions or comments? Councilmember Rector.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kevin, going back to the slide that showed where the wells and the water, the easements that we approved, I guess, earlier in the year, what percentage of that residual part, I mean, if I remember right, those footprints were fairly small for those, but are they situated such to where it's going to, I don't know how to phrase this, they're carving up more of the parcel than those easements would indicate, because you can't, you got to have setbacks from them and that kind of stuff. I mean, it's still a good developable piece of property, I guess, is my bottom line question.
Yeah, so it may be difficult to make out, but on the design document in front of you, the master plan, you can hopefully you can make out essentially 3 rectangles or square type documents. Those are the future well sites. And so in order for them to be successful, they actually have to be placed within a distance of each other to be impactful for the aquifer. And so with that being said, we spent a lot of time trying to put them in a place that they wouldn't get in the way or cause issue in a future deal. And so as it relates to the residue parcel, we put it almost at the exit ramp at the end of a stormwater pond. And so I think we've done hopefully, famous last words, we've picked a good location that won't get in the way, or to the best of our ability.
And then I guess, moving to the north of that, all that property where the college was, that's to the left-hand side of 664, is there any future merging of this particular project with something that might happen there to create some kind of continuity up into that parcel?
Yeah, so actually one of the things that we've talked about from a brainstorming perspective with the TCC Real Estate Foundation is, Armstead Road begins to climb to get over 664. We actually dead-ended one of the condo or the townhouse development roads so we could explore the ability to maybe tunnel under a section of Armstead, and whether that's pedestrian or a golf cart or vehicle, we're not quite sure, but we did put it at a spot that we could explore in the future, the ability to maybe walk under Armstead Road and share the ability for folks that if they live at TCC can enjoy the retail, because we think we're a better commercial retail location than they are just because of where they're set. And then our idea of this waterfront park, having the residents that are on the point be able to safely walk towards the park and enjoy and have both projects kind of feel like one parcel. And They're also, the Real Estate Foundations has approval authority over what we build, which can be frustrating from time to time, but they like what we're doing. They see that it can mirror something that they can do in the future and that the parcels can work together.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Butler Barlow.
Thank you. Kevin, the residual parcel, that's going to be, in this whole mixed-use development scenario, not more residential, but more.
Correct.
But yeah, so not residential, but office and sky's the limit, whatever is a good fit there, but not more residential.
Correct. So
Okay.
we are done, after the condo project, there's no more residential per the zoning. Within the mixed-use category, you lay out what you foresee, and so we've got approved uses via the zoning. It's all something compatible with this, so industrial is not an opportunity. It's all fairly office-related, retail-related, entertainment-related.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that. All right, thank you.
Council, any other questions or comments? Kevin, I do have one comment, going back to Councilmember Butler Barlow. That residual parcel, if I remember correctly, in early discussions, they were talking about the back part being maybe a larger motel, even talked about a grocery store in there maybe. I don't know if any of those are still on the table, but the idea that we will have something like that or entertainment looks like it's definitely the way to go in that particular location with what we've already done. But we talked about the back of it, the visibility from 664.
Yeah.
So is that still in the mix, or?
Yeah, and the reason we're here today and excited about where we've been and where we're heading is to lead to this opportunity because of the visibility is so significant. And so we've been showing the residue parcel to a lot of folks in the retail industry, large hotel, and the feedback is great, let us know when you're there. They wanted to see how the parcel takes shape, how you gain access, and basically call us when you're serious. And you're not serious until you can see it, you can touch it, you can visualize it. And so it'll give us the opportunity, once we've got the road in place, to go much harder towards some of these interesting type uses on here that we want to have a positive impact for the residents and be an economic development driver.
Okay, and am I right in saying that the ultimate decision will be made by the Economic Development Authority?
That's correct. So the EDA is the
Along with
property owner.
Yeah, with the blessing of the foundation.
Yeah.
I guess, gotcha. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Councilmember Rector.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking on what the mayor just asked, is it sort of a cart before the horse kind of thing? I mean, can you do the infrastructure development in there so that people can see what it looks like without sort of carving it up to where somebody comes back and says, well, you know, the way you've carved this thing up, it just ain't going to work for me, kind of thing. I mean, I don't know which comes first. Somebody wants to potentially come in there and you kind of develop it to suit them, or whether you develop it and then hope that somebody comes in and can fit that need or fit that space.
It depends how big your pockets are. And ours aren't that big. So we've got to do as much work as we can that we can afford, making good decisions, and then work with interested parties to figure it out and see what that deal looks like. So 9 acres, expansing of right-of-way, and again, we're just stubbing it out. So there's a world where you continue to run the road and create other parcels, and so that'll allow us the opportunity by making it right-of-way, or we keep the road at this stub and one user uses all 9 acres. So it'll give us some flexibility. You know, we tried we've got 55 acres, who wants to come? And it's really hard to visualize unless, hey, I'll be your master developer. And we have a tendency of saying, we like your idea, we think there's merit, but we want to proceed cautiously. And the deal that we worked with the G's allowed us to do that. And so he's got parameters to close that we have to approve throughout the process. We have buyback clauses, and not every developer, most developers aren't open to that type of transaction. So the way it's gone, and we've seen success, has all been driven by the EDA making thoughtful decisions along the way.
Okay, council, any other questions or comments? If not, thank you very much, Mr. Hughes. I appreciate the update. It's a very exciting project. If you hadn't been out there, it's a little kind of hard to imagine without actually seeing it, but great job. Okay, our second topic for discussion will be a voter precinct review and update. Mr. Manager.
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, again, Deputy City Manager Kevin Hughes is going to provide this staff report. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, coming off of the 2024 election, wanted to start moving towards some polling location sites that we need to recommend to make some changes on. I just look back and I see our friends from the voter registrar are here, and so we've been working with them on some of these changes that we want to talk to you about today. So first and foremost, we've got 4 polling sites to discuss with you this evening. 3 of them, we've received correspondence from the property owner saying we can no longer house or be a polling site, and so we need you to find some alternatives. Thankfully, a lot of them gave us options along the way, but so 3 we have to do. 1 we'd like to bring towards you just because we think we've got some space issues in the configuration, and so we'll walk you through those 3, our recommended relocations, as well as the 1 that we'd like to recommend relocating that we've got some space issues on. So down in the Cypress voting borough, we currently are down at New First Baptist Church at 1105 Hosier Road. That facility's got infrastructure issues related to plumbing and heating. We've had to bring down portable systems just to make sure it can accommodate voting, and so that one needs to change. There's not a lot of opportunities in and around that area to find a polling site, and so what is being recommended is the Greater First Baptist Church in Orlando at 600 Factory. It's just over or outside the voting borough, but still within state code to allow that to operate for that district. And it has previously served as a voting location in the past. And just to continue more information related to that, here's an aerial of Greater First Baptist Church Orlando, and then a front view of it as well off Factory. The Suffolk voter borough district out at the Layside Precinct, Suffolk Presbyterian Church at 410 North Main Street. As you guys are all aware, that'll be a future town bank location, and so the church is no longer there operating. So what we'd like to do is propose to move that to the Morgan Memorial Library across the street at 443 West Washington Street. So there's an aerial just across from City Hall and a shot from Washington Street as well. Down in Whaleyville, we're currently at the Faith Temple Ministry Christian Fellowship Center. That's at 631 Brook Avenue. And they have informed us that I think there's a real estate transaction pending or it's already occurred. And so the alternative site, this one's really easy. It's literally like 2 doors down. This would be at Lakeview Ministry Baptist Church at 635 Brook Avenue. There's an aerial of the church and then a shot. They've recently paved the parking lot too, so that's a real benefit as well. And then finally, so those are the 3 that have informed us that they can no longer serve as a polling location. This 4th one is one that we'd like to bring to your attention. So down in Whaleyville at the airport precinct, we're currently voting at the airport terminal. That's in the conference space next to the restaurant. So good news, bad news is that the restaurant's doing well, people really enjoy it, but that doesn't work well as a polling site. It's kind of tight anyway, and you've got a tight hallway, and so it's less than accommodating for what we'd like to do. And so alternatively, we'd like to look a little further up the road at the Public Utilities Operations Center. That's at 272 Benton Road, so just a little further north. And there's a shot of that with the star, and then the shot off of Benton Road. There's a conference room right off of the main entrance that's very large, and it'll be a good site for an opportunity there. So those are the 4. As I mentioned, all these sites have been vetted with the registrar and the property owners. What is on your evening's agenda is a motion to schedule a public hearing for the February 19th City Council meeting to consider these 4 locations and the relocation thereof. We are prepared to post this information online and put it up at City Hall as we've done previously as well, following that motion. Looking forward, I figure this may be of a thought for the council, is we do anticipate coming back to you following the 25 election. I think we've talked about this previously. We're up in northern Suffolk. We're currently voting at the VMASC ODU Center. The thought has been with the community room at the new fire station 11, that we would relocate that use from VMASC to the new community center. Our completion date of the fire station is this summer, and so it just gets a little too tight, a little too close for comfort related to this election. So this might be something we come back to you in 2026 for a recommendation. And then we continue to work with the registrar to identify future real estate in northern Suffolk to work through this concept of early voting office or permanent office and or early voting site in northern Suffolk, but the real estate and the configuration and the needs, we have not identified a site to recommend to you today. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Council, questions, comments? Councilmember Rector.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kevin, going back to the Lakeside voting precinct that is going to move from the church to back to the Morgan Memorial Library, do you see that, or do the registrar's office, do they see that as a temporary solution, perhaps until the new library is built, or when the new library is built and that one ceases to be a library, will it make it more conducive as a permanent polling place? Because I know it got moved from there because of parking and some other considerations when it was dual use as a library. But so I'm just, long term, what do you see happening?
Yeah, I think our discussion, and this may be one that we come back to you as well. So we've got 2 elections next year, a primary, and then the election that has the governor on the ballot as well. We'd like to get through that and then come back and let you know how that worked. And to your point, whether it goes to the new library or is there now a new space configuration that allows Morgan to operate even better, and what that use is going to be, that we think that there's an opportunity to come back, see how it works, and see if we make our new recommendation. So we want to get through 25. That's kind of the need, and then we'll see if we stay or go somewhere else.
Councilmember Bennett.
Thank you. This is more of a comment than a question. I just would like to thank the registrar and all that have really worked hard to relocate the Cypress Precinct borough, in that borough, because the location where that was at was no bus transportation or anything. It was difficult for people getting there. A lot of people did not go to vote because of that. So it used to be at the First Baptist Orlando. Putting it back there is much more convenient for people that you're trying to get to vote. So I just want to let you all know how much I do appreciate it. People had a lot of complaints about it, and you all stepped up to the plate, worked with Kevin, and I can't thank you enough, and the people can't thank you enough for what you've done. Thanks again.
Vice Mayor Ward.
Hey, Kevin, are we going to vote at VMAS, you're saying, or?
In 25, and we hope to change it in 26.
Okay.
Council, any questions or comments? Mr. Hughes, just got one question for you. If the voting is going to be at Morgan Library, will that be able to stay open the day, election day, or will it have to close?
So we're currently closed on Election Day in November. The primary, we would be operational, but I know they recently met with the librarian and his staff to work through that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there's no other questions or comments, thank you very much, Mr. Hughes, for yet another presentation. Okay, that concludes our work session. I understand we do have a need for a closed meeting this evening. Madam Clerk, will you please read the motion for consideration?
Pursuant to Virginia Code Sections 2.2-3711A8 and A1, consultation with legal counsel employed by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the legal advice of such counsel, and the discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for appointment, and the assignment, appointment, and performance of specific public officers or appointees of the city, specifically the appointments as shown on the attached list for vacancies or term expirations for the Early Childhood Development Commission, the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission, the Historic Landmarks Commission, the Human Services Advisory Board, the Local Board of Building Code Appeals, the Paul D. Camp Community College Board, the Sister Cities Commission, Southside Network Authority, Suffolk Redevelopment and Housing Authority, Tidewater Youth Services Commission, the Western Tidewater Community Services Board, and the Wetlands Board.
Council, what is your pleasure? Councilman Rector?
Move to approve.
Get a motion for approval from Councilman Rector. Councilmember Johnson,
Second.
second from Councilmember Johnson. Is there any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, council members prepare to vote. Please cast your vote. Madam Clerk, please record the vote.
The motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
This meeting was concluded and will reconvene at 6 p.m.